Aloha and welcome to The Art of Life. I'm your host, Willow Chang Leon. We are broadcasting live here in the basement of Pioneer Plaza, located in the heart of downtown. Just in case you haven't tuned in before, what exactly does The Art of Life entail? Well, my friends, it's pretty much everything. What do we strive for and what do we aspire to? I'm looking for sacred practice. I'm looking for individuals who are committed to improving not only their own lives, but thus affecting everyone around them. They bring a better quality of life to the community that they serve. They are seekers, they are engaged, they are interested, they are interesting, creative, they question things, whether that be authority or even their own judgment from time to time. They are armchair travelers and world travelers. They value rational thinking as well as the creative process. And that pretty much, to me, encapsulates what the Art of Life show is about. We do welcome your questions, comments, concerns, feedbacks, rants, and raves. If you have someone that you would like to see on the show, or if you have questions for us here, whether it's the production side of things or the content, feel free to drop us a line. We have a fairly new brand spanking page on Facebook. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's called The Art of Life with Willow Chang. So you can look on that, click like, send it to your friends, and we have all of the archived back episodes starting from September of 2013. It's up there with links and information about our previous guest. Our guest today is somebody who many people in many different communities are familiar with, whether they are jazz aficionados, whether they're in the Brazilian community, whether they are rabbit breeders. Yes, it's a whole community unto itself. If they are a fan of boxers, not Paul Simon and not Tyson, we're talking the dog. Perhaps they're involved in the educational system, the Hispanic community. The list goes on, like a multi-petaled Venn diagram. This guest of ours, Sandy Tsukiyama, certainly uplifts the quality of life here in Hawaii. Now, she's en route to the show, so that's the teaser of who is on the show. So, stay tuned, sit tight, she's going to be here in a minute. What I'd like to plug is the show that we have slated for next week. That's right. We rarely do this. We rarely talk about what's going on in the future and look into the crystal ball, but that's the joy of booking the talent. I already know it's going to be next week's show. So next week's show is going to be what last week's show was intended to be, and we had a whole slew of technical difficulties, and Mars, Venus, all those planets, I don't know what they were doing. I know Mercury was not in retrograde, so mea culpa, our apologies, we did have some technical issues. However, the show that we intended last week, they were questions that were fielded and prompted by our viewers via Facebook, and we will be addressing as many of those as humanly possible to get through in about a 40 to 45 minute period. I will say in advance that there are two questions that are so detailed and require so much more in-depth analysis that I am going to forego not answering those two. If you're curious what they are, then you're just going to have to tune in. But I will make this assertion. We will bring some guests on and create a small panel to discuss those two topics, because they were mighty fine questions, and I'll have to say all the questions were actually quite good. So I am very indebted to you folks for watching the show and telling your friends about it, and taking an interest in being part of that stewardship of this communication of what makes the art of life interesting. So that's going to be next week's show. That's the last week of April, I believe. Well, let me do the math. I think it's the 26th. Don't quote me on that. It's Good Friday. So anyway, we're going to cut away to a break, and then when we come back, hopefully our guest will be here. I'm Willow Chang Leon, and this is The Art of Life.
Hi, my name is Dr. Rafi. Every week, I'm right here at ThinkTech Hawaii, 3 p.m. on Mondays. My show is Boris' Bio Briefings. What do we do here? Well, we watch sperm swim. We see if they catch anybody. We check out the latest biosimilars. You know, the kind that, what was his name, the guy with the bicycle? I guess we forgot his name, but he was taking EPO. and other human growth factors. We'll be talking about human growth factors. You want to know where to get some? Maybe I'll tell. Anyway, you can catch me, as I said, every week right here, Monday, 3 p.m., ThinkTech Hawaii, Dr. Rafi. You can also find me on Twitter, BioInfoMedical. Or you can catch me on Facebook, Dr. Rafael Boritzer. I'll be happy to converse with you. Aloha.
Hi, I'm David Day. I'm the host of ThinkTech Asia, right here, 4 o'clock on Thursdays. We typically involve experts in conversations having to do with foreign policy, international relations, geopolitics, and also international business. You'll find the conversations are not anything like you've ever seen on the media, because we drill down and find out facts and complications that are absolutely amazing. So come join us right here on ThinkTech.
Welcome back to The Art of Life, and lo and behold, look at that. We take a break and voila, our guest appears just like that. And we did not even coordinate this, but Sandy and I both like headgear. Sandy Tsukiyama, welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
Yeehaw! So, if you're just joining us, and it is a possibility, maybe you're watching the show at work, your secret is safe with us. Sandy, bon vivant, linguist, I'm going to call it that. She's so humble, she'd never say any of these things. She's a rabbit breeder. She's a fan of boxers, not the fighters, the dogs. She speaks many kind languages, brother. She's a teacher. She hosts a very, very popular radio show at Hawaii Public Radio on the HPR2 called The Brazilian Experience. Phenomenal singer, jazz musician, world traveler, speaks her mind. What is not to love about this woman? And we've got some great pictures that we're going to also give you some visuals here. So Sandy, welcome to the show.
I'm so glad to be here. Glad I made it.
We're stoked to have you, dude. No, you're a hard woman to pin down, not only because you're busy, but this is usually the time of day where you're at school tending to other people's needs and wants. So thank God for holidays, right?
Had to wait for a holiday.
Had to pencil you in. So tell us a little bit about, how did Sandy come to be? Are you a local girl? How did you get into music? How did you get into the whole animal husbandry and plants and traveling and all that good stuff?
Well, my parents ask themselves the same question, but it's actually all their fault.
Oh.
No, I'm born and raised here in Kapiolani Hospital.
All right.
And I live in the same house that I grew up in, actually, in Manoa.
I love it.
And I work at the school that I graduated from. So it's,
stability
just
is a
it
good
close
thing.
To home.
Yeah. Do you find that the foundation of stability of things that are familiar perhaps has allowed you to expand and go past that? It's like maybe the consistency of what you might feel is normalcy for you allows you to let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, I think that's grounded me because if you want to talk astrology, I'm Gemini with a Taurus moon. And Taurus rising and Leo moon. So I could be flying around, which I do my best to do, but there are things that ground me.
Yeah.
So yeah, having the land and being able to raise animals and plants and do small kind sustainable.
Not to mention the Taurus, it's the realm of the voice. Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh, good. I learned something.
It is the throat chakra. Look into it. Very cool. So we want to know, because some people out there, this might just kind of blow their mind. How did this local girl become fluent in Portuguese? I mean, Portuguese people Portuguese descent in Hawaii don't even speak Portuguese 9 times out of 10.
I know why. Well, it all started at Roosevelt High School, where I work and went to school as a sophomore. Back then they started at grade 10. Of course, my parents wanted me to study Japanese, but the classes were all filled. So someone said that Spanish was easy, and so there were openings there. I heard
that too. It's kind of a lie. But it's a very beautiful language.
You know, as I've told other students, that among all the languages that are offered there in the public schools usually, that Spanish is the easiest one to learn because the vowels are all very, very stable. They don't change, and you don't have to learn a new writing system or anything. And many words are Latin-derived English cognates. So
I think the thing that people tried to sell me on is they said, dude, you add a 0 to the end and then it's a Spanish word. not true.
Oh yeah, let's Parco the Caro, right?
Exactly. I want some Samino.
Some things
No.
you can't. Some things you can get away with that, but not everything. But I mean, it's not that much a transfer over, say, for example, to
Farsi.
Japanese.
Yeah, or Japanese.
Chinese. Mhm.
Exactamundo. Yeah.
So I went into that and stayed with it for 3 years in high school. The teachers were fun, and one of them organized a summer study tour to Guadalajara, Mexico.
Wow.
So was in immersion situation for 6 weeks and came back and continued studying at UH, and did a lot of things where I was able to use my Spanish on a daily basis without having to even leave the rock.
That is so cool.
I worked at the airport for visitor information, sat around, talked to everybody in the airport, and
This is before we had Telemundo on
Yeah.
cable cat
Yeah, we
newscasts.
didn't even
and
have
things
cable
like that.
then.
Exactly.
no. And I worked for a tour company.
Was
that-
this Soul Tours?
Soul Tour was, I worked for the ancestor of what became Soul Tour.
Wow.
And so that was fun. We'd receive Spanish and Portuguese speaking tourists from all over the world, and just being in an immersion situation with them, having to speak the language all day long. And the visitors would help me if I needed a word.
Very cool.
So it was fun and learned a lot, because as a tour guide, you have to answer every single question they have about everything.
So were you kind of like the Puka Shell tour guide?
I was the Puka Shell tour guide, and I think I still have the necklace. Somewhere,
That is
gotta
awesome.
dig for it.
That's Replinger. For those of you who are unfamiliar, you must look into
You
that.
can find it on YouTube,
Yeah,
the Puka Shell tour.
one of the finest. Still holds up after all these years.
Yep.
The stuff's golden. So from Spanish, you were able to springboard into Portuguese. Yes.
Yes, the story goes that I think I was 9 years old when The Girl from Ipanema came out on the radio, and it
Garota
was
de
the
Ipanema.
big hit all over the world. I think it's one of the most covered tunes in the whole world.
It's still played in supermarkets.
Sure.
And it's a great tune.
Sure. And I just always wondered, where was this place called Ipanema? Did it really exist? And what was this woman's strange accent and this lilting, haunting rhythm and the soft voice? And it was all very attractive. And so I pursued it. It was all in the back of my mind. And I think when I was in college, I was listening to KTUH FM early in the morning, and they had a jazz program that woke me up. And they were playing Bossa Nova. So
Is this with Astrid?
I don't know who
version?
it was.
Yeah.
It was somebody singing in Portuguese, and so through my sleepiness, I heard, and because I had studied enough Spanish by that time, I said I understood a lot of the words, and I said, I know that's Portuguese, I know that's Bossa Nova, I know it's from Brazil. I want to learn. I want to know what all of those words are saying. So I enrolled in the one-year Portuguese course that they had at UH.
Do they still have it?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The instructor has been on my program at the Brazilian experience.
That is fantastic. Okay, I'm going to hijack you a little bit
'Kay.
because we're going to segue into music. That lilting, airy, sometimes breathy, it's like a feather floating on a breeze
Yeah.
sound that you hear with these types of bossa nova music, to me seem even more radical today than, say, 50 years ago, because we've kind of, well, American pop music, I mean, it's very diverse. We understand that. But that whole, like, American Idol, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, belter approach to music seems so pervasive that the bossa nova approach seems so radically different in contrast.
Well, you know why?
Why?
It's because that the musicians who created what became bossa nova would all get together with each other after their own gigs in the nightclubs, and they'd go to somebody's apartment. And in the southern zone of Rio de Janeiro, it's all high rises. It's like Waikiki, Ala Moana,
Yeah.
Makiki. And so they had to play very softly. So that's why the drumming is just a snare played with brushes. And it's an acoustic guitar. It's an acoustic piano. And the voice is very, very muted.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. It's for that, specifically for that reason.
So there's the intimacy is by proxy of the environment itself.
Yeah. They had to play softly
Very cool.
because of the apartments.
I like that. See, I
It's
just learned
documented. It's a
something new.
documented fact. Roberto Menescal, he said that in the documentary movie called Bossa Nova.
Yeah.
Or This is Bossa Nova.
Very, very cool. Now, I want to know, How do you make the leap and the transition? Because if you do it all the time, it's normal to you. But for some people, it might be a really radical concept. I used the word radical twice in the show already. I am keeping score. You're interested in something. How does your process go to look into that? We've got so many resources now that are available. Maybe you deal with this with your students and your kids. I'm just like, come on, man, go down the rabbit hole, research it, look into it. The information is all there. We both have experienced a time when the information was there, but it wasn't always necessarily accessible. So when you are enamored with something, if some piques your interest, what's the Sandy process to get into it? Because to me, it seems like on the outside, when you are interested in something, not only do you take an interest, I mean, you pretty much become like this living, walking expert of like all of these various subjects, which is cool.
The things just come your way.
Yeah.
They just come your way. Like language interpreting. I don't know, somehow somebody came to me and said, Center for Interpretation Translation Studies at UH is giving a placement test. You want to take it? I'm probably not going to make it. I'm probably not going to pass, but you know, what do I have to lose? And so I took it and I passed, and they accepted me into the program, and I said, this is a sign. So I went in and got training in how to be a simultaneous or a consecutive interpreter.
Yeah.
So then that's what I do still on the side to this day. Things just happen. Serendipitously or purposely, who knows, you know, karmically.
Now
Who
I'm
knows?
going to go here also.
Mm.
Sometimes there's a tendency, like old school Hawaii, I don't know, we're in transition, as all things are, where the humility factor, sometimes actually people suppress their own abilities due to humility. I'm not going to say it's false humility, because I think there's a genuine attempt, because that's what's valued here in Hawaii. But people don't necessarily go for the brass ring because they're too concerned it's going to make them look like they have a fat head. You are just someone who's like, chance them. And what is it about Roosevelt that seems to imbue that? Because my dad was the same way. He was there when it was Teachers College, ended up going to Harvard. You're a product of Roosevelt. Bruno Mars is a product of Roosevelt.
He used to practice at our house.
Yeah, our lovely Mary Magdalene,
Yep.
Yvonne Elliman, Roosevelt grad. Is it something about Roosevelt? Is it the individual? Because how is it that you're able to escape that whole like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough, I don't know if I should try, and oh, people are gonna, what they're gonna say, and blah 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 blah.
It's just your own drive.
Yeah.
Because I think it's senior year, you know, the Haas elections.
Yeah.
They always have, I won a nonconformist. So I don't think it was necessarily Roosevelt that pushed me in that direction.
She was born this way.
Yeah.
Before Lady Gaga said that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
well, my family is, as local Japanese go, they're different. They're different. Their origins are different. You know, they didn't come to work on the plantations, and so they were, my grandparents were Christian, and they were English speaking, and they were shopkeepers.
Oh,
And other
my
things.
dad, same thing.
Yeah.
Shopkeepers.
So they had a different mindset. They
This
didn't
is
have to
true.
come off the plantation. To get here, I walked right past the building where my grandmother lived.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The building that my
South
grandfather
Coast.
owned is down the street as well.
Mhm.
Maybe they knew each other.
Maybe.
So I'm curious, Manoa, local Japanese, did you guys have the best foods mayonnaise jar with the water inside? To scare
keep
away the
dogs.
dog?
No, we don't have any lawn on our
Okay.
that faces the street. Our yard is all behind the
I
house.
thought I'd ask.
No, but the neighbors did. Don't see those anymore.
You don't see this anymore. I know, it's just
I think maybe some lawns caught on fire.
So in case you're wondering what this was, and this is archived, if you go back and look at 100 Reasons to Love Hawaii, there was a picture of 3 best foods mayonnaise jars, empty without the label, filled with water, sitting on somebody's lawn. You'd say, what is this? Is it art? Perhaps. But the local mindset was, if you filled this jar with water, the dog would see its reflection and then choose to not use your lawn as a bathroom.
I never knew why. I was never given a reason why. I just knew that it kept dogs away.
I always thought that
Kept
that
dogs from
was
soiling your yard.
kind of, I gotta file that one under Bakatari because that just seems really improbable.
Well,
but
maybe we should put it on Facebook and see what kind of answers we
I
get.
think we might have to do that. You can give us your 2 cents on the Art of Life Facebook page. Okay, music. Were you always a musical mama? Did you start at a young age? Tell us about that.
Music was always in the home. And my mother liked to sing. One of my first Christmases, I believe, was my gift was a record player.
Very cool.
Yeah, we
Did
have
it have
home
like
movies of me.
the lid, the carrying type, a portable
No,
one?
it was an
one in the
open.
house?
It's an
Okay.
open one, and so I had a lot of these 33s and 78s.
Yeah.
And I know I couldn't read at that time, but I knew exactly which record was which because of the length of the letters or the color of the label and all that.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I played records a lot, and then my mother always played different kinds of music, and my father brought us up on Dixieland jazz and Louis Armstrong in particular, and Harry Belafonte's calypso, so that when I listened to salsa and samba, they all had those similar roots, so it seemed like a natural thing to slip into.
And then you became a singer. Were you an instrumentalist prior to that, or has voice always been the calling for you?
I started piano lessons when I was 7, and always liked music, always liked to sing. There was no real music program per se at the elementary school at Manoa, but at Stevenson, I was put into the chorus class, and I didn't want to be there, and the teacher was very frustrated. She had these huge classes, and then when I actually went to teach at Stevenson, I knew exactly why. I would call upon her spirit for help. But I sang there for 3 years, and then when I went to Roosevelt, there was, I wasn't in the choir there, but Roosevelt always had a really good choir.
Yeah.
They had stage musicals that were put on by students and alumni. And so that's, I think, where the stage bug bit me.
Like the Fantastics, Godspell, what kind of
We
fair?
did, the first time when I was a sophomore, we did Oliver.
Okay.
And then my junior year, we did Sweet Charity.
Oh.
So between those 2 years is when Yvonne Elliman told me that I should sing. So I think that was
That's massive,
that was a turning
man.
point. Yeah.
Massive.
And that was just before she got discovered for Jesus Christ Superstar.
I can hear it in my head. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry.
Yep.
In addition to your beautiful, mellifluous voice, which I love, I'm saying on record, I'm a fan, if you haven't figured that out by now.
Thank you.
There are so many things I enjoy about you as a musician, especially having had the honor to work with you guys at the Dylan S concert earlier this year.
That was fun.
That was fun on a stick. I felt like she got my back. It was great. You have really amazing musicality. I mean, you have a great sense of musicianship, and people might assume that that's to be, they assume that goes along with the territory, and no. I mean, you can have a nice voice and maybe you're kind of a lousy musician or vice versa. Your sense of timing, your rhythm, your phrasing is really like on it. And then I love how you can pick up like any rhythmic instrument and just like, boom, just like lock down and keep it steady for the rest of us yokums.
That comes from being in the salsa band.
It's an awesome, awesome skill. And your ability to shift gears, musical genres and languages. And I would say perhaps above all, your voice to me embodies the experience, and there are many, but it's a very womanly voice. Now I know that might sound like kind of a strange thing to say, but sometimes we're bombarded by things that are childlike, or there's nothing wrong with things that are girlish, and the ingenue is lovely, and I love Audrey Hepburn, and everything has a time and a place. But in a society that seems to put almost an obsessive value on youth, the thing that I love is when I listen to your voice, there's maturity there, there's depth to it, there's color, there's experience. And it doesn't sound like you've just been sitting in a bar smoking cigarettes. So people tend to think that to have those things you have to sound trashed or old. This is not about being old or trash. It's like there's maturity and experience in your voice that is just so awesome.
It comes from years of yelling at kids in school and at home. Because I've listened to myself of recordings of back when I was much younger. And yeah, the voice does sound a lot more youthful, and yeah, the timbre is thickened. And well, because I was told by my ENT doctor that the vocal cords, or the therapist, yeah, there was a time when I had to do voice therapy, that the vocal cords thicken and fold with age.
Wow.
So that's
like
how you get that.
origami.
Yeah, like what you call the smoky voice.
Yeah.
The cigarette and drinking voice.
Yeah.
Like who's it? The sea witch in The Little Mermaid. Pat Carroll.
Ursula.
That kind of voice.
Yeah,
The Ursula voice. There's that, and so you have to.
Or Kathleen Turner.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, you do. She did Body Double. She was in Romancing the Stone.
I didn't see that.
She's got a famous low voice. Lauren Bacall, I
Lauren
think, has a really low voice.
Yeah, well, some people just naturally do
That's true.
have the lower voices, but a lot of it is learning proper projection and moving it forward, because I can push it forward, and I can also lay it right back here.
Yeah.
Sound like a guy.
Dude sounds
So
like a
it's-
lady.
Yeah, if you have the tool, you have to learn how to use it,
It's true.
and don't abuse it. And believe me, it has been abused.
That's where I tread on the freak zone. So you never see me at sports like yelling. I do like the monk, the silent scream.
Oh, I do this high pitched one that doesn't bother the vocal cords.
I do the ululation, which they use which is called
the African
zaguri,
one?
the one for belly dance and yeah. Can I do this? The microphone is here. Yeah, that's really good at UH graduations.
Yeah,
so if
because
people
it's higher
need to-
pitched than anybody
They're
else.
like, she's over here.
Yeah.
It's good for that. But yeah, I'm not like, go Celtics!
No, because you can see what it does to your neck right there.
What she said, all that good stuff. So these are the questions that I totally loathe, but I'm gonna have some fun and ask you them, because
Bring
these
on.
are the ones that everybody probably asks you. What's your favorite type of music that you like to sing? Do you have a preference? You know, is it jazz? Is it bossa nova? Is it songs in Spanish? Is it show tunes? Is it rock and roll?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above.
What would people be surprised that you like to sing? Do you have, like, you know, guilty pleasures when
Well,
you go to karaoke
I
or
think-
something?
Yeah, I love karaoke because there are things there that I grew up with,
Yeah.
and that nobody expects me to sing, so that I can sing like disco.
Or more than a feeling. I'm
Yeah,
high on
disco,
believing.
so Donna Summer songs and Aretha Franklin songs.
Those Donna Summer songs.
They're not.
They are
easy.
not easy. You just think like, oh, I've
Barbra
heard this on the
Streisand.
radio, and then you try to sing it, and you're like, oh,
And I can
let's
still sing-
modulate it.
I can still sing Minnie Riperton's "Loving You" too.
La 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 la. Yes. And do your dogs do they cock their head when they hear those high-pitched sounds? Do they sing
Sometimes.
along? Are they
I had a
compelled?
parrot when I lived in Brazil. I had a parrot who would mimic my vocal warm-ups, and I couldn't do them in the same room with him
Now
because
that's
he
a
was too
pretty
on it.
that's a pretty sly segue there. Tell
Yeah.
us about the Brazilian experience in Brazil.
In Brazil, okay. Well, from the time I was studying Portuguese, and I made friends with all the Brazilians who were studying here, I'd go over to their house and I'd eat their black beans and listen to I'd borrow all their records and I would record them on a reel-to-reel tape in those days. And so it just fed my fire to want to go there.
Yeah.
And so I went once on a tour, and my mother took me on an American Express tour of South America, Latin America, 7 countries in 3 weeks. And we have a lot of family in Sao Paulo, Brazil, because that's on my mother's side. They migrated to Brazil because the U.S. cut off Japanese immigration.
Oh, okay.
And they made an agreement between the 2 countries that Japan would stop sending their people to the mainland, and they could come here. But at that time, Brazil opened up, so the ships
was
would
this
come in.
what planted the seed for having the largest Japanese population outside of Japan?
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. Brazil opened up and they had large land holdings that broke down into smaller farms, and so people were buying them, and they were doing things like farming coffee, and they needed people to work. And so from all over the world, people came. There were a lot of Italians, Spaniards. So depending on different parts of South America, where you go, there are pockets or large groups of ethnic populations from certain parts of Europe, the Middle East, Asia. And so if you look at Latin America, it's just as much built upon the immigrant population as the U.S.
Definitely.
Yeah, only the language, the colonizing language is Spanish or Portuguese.
Yeah. All
or
of
in
tango is immigrant
Sure.
influences.
Yeah.
That's why Shakira is
So-
half Lebanese.
That's right. That's right.
Colombia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was trying to go, and I majored in ethnomusicology at UH. And so my professor told me about the Center for Folkloric Research at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. And he told me the name of the professor, and he says, get a hold of her, and you can go study Brazilian music over there.
Very cool.
And so I looked for her, I found it. So out of lots of searching through all kinds of different organizations, my father said, well, what about Rotary? He had a lot of friends that became Rotarians. And so they said, yeah, they have scholarships and you can go study there. And so I wrote a proposal and got awarded this 1 year, paid all expenses, tuition, room and board. You have to find your own place to live and all that, but it was great. And as long as you get accepted to this institute, accredited institution of higher learning.
Wow.
So that was a long time ago. That was 1980.
But that was life-changing, I bet.
Yeah.
In many
Totally.
ways.
Totally. Yeah.
It secured the obsession.
It did. Exactly.
Yeah, it's
I
interesting.
went and accomplished my mission.
Some people, it doesn't happen, but it's kind of a coin toss because people can be enamored with a culture, a language, what have you, a subculture, and then they make the leap and they go to the motherland or the fatherland or whatever they want to call it. And sometimes the arrow actually falls out of the heart. I mean, I know a couple of people, your identities shall be not revealed, Francophiles, went to France, went to Paris, and then kind of like when they experienced it, I guess maybe their fantasy or what they thought it was going to be was very different than the reality. But then other cases, people go and then it turns into a lifelong love affair, clearly as it has with you.
I have a friend who went to, he's a rabbit show judge. He went on a Rotary scholarship to Senegal.
Oh, okay.
So that changed his life, and
Yeah.
so now he goes around to different countries, like poverty-ravaged countries, and helps teach them how to raise rabbits for subsistence.
Very,
So
very cool.
yeah, you may go for one reason, and then other things will pop up along the way.
This is true.
Yeah.
Speaking of popping up along the way, it's that time to take a small break. But stay tuned because we have so many things to talk about and we have a lot of images to boot. This is The Art of Life.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
That one?
Yeah. Aloha and welcome back to The Art of Life. We have our guest, the one, the only, Sandy Tsukiyama. She is the hostess with the mostest of the Brazilian Experience, which airs on Saturdays, Hawaii Public Radio, 4 o'clock?
HPR2, 4 to
HPR
6 p.m.
4 to 6 p.m. Some of the finest music you're going to hear. It's going to make you want to boogie in your car or boogie at the shopping center or wherever you
I
are.
have a friend who does her housework to it,
That's pretty akamai.
but sambaing at the same time.
She also does a whole lot of things in the animal world. Everything from raising them to putting them on the dinner table. And I've seen it. She knows how to drown rats. I've seen
yeah.
it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, we don't eat the rats though.
Well,
That's the cat's
world
job.
traveler, educator, advocate, all these good things. You were just talking about your friend who is a rabbit judge and went to Senegal and now teaches people how to raise their rabbits as sustenance. tell us about your foray into the world of rabbits, because I always think of that as like something people do for 4-H, which I was in 4-H, and then once they're out of 4-H, they're gone. I did that for 8 years.
Wow.
I wanted to
A city girl.
It's true. And you know what? City girls who did 4-H, like myself, you can laugh anytime you feel like it, for those of you who know me, because we had cooking shows or cooking demonstrations, which is laughable because I still really don't cook. We had fashion shows.
Yeah, no, okay, so that's where you picked it up.
Home economics, speech and demonstration.
So there you go.
Right. I also got to MC livestock conventions. It's true. And then we worked at the Terry booth at the farm fair and things like that.
Yep, love the farm fair.
And, you know, we did lots of community service, but we didn't have like heifers in the backyard and, you know, animal husbandry or things like that.
No, that's for the country kids.
The closest that we had is once upon a time they offered us quails, and I was like totally convinced that, you know, I wanted to become like the quail factory,
queen.
the quail queen, and my mother totally just, she
Oh
was
no,
like, hell
they're
no.
smelly and messy.
Yeah, well, after the mice, she was like, no, we're not having quails. And I begged, you know, I wanted like the little incubator, and aren't they so cute with the little feather? And yeah, so tell us, how did you get into rabbits?
Well, we had a pet rabbit as a kid, and she was given to us while our friends had moved away.
Oh my
for a
gosh,
while.
I had the same thing.
Yeah.
One named Pink Floyd.
It was a large commercial-sized chinchilla rabbit, and that was our only pet rabbit. And then she lived with my guinea pigs for a while, and then our friends came back, and so she went back. Then there was a time when there were these people who were renting my cottage at the back, and they were raising meat rabbits in the yard. And so when I came back from Brazil, they were still there, and they still had all these various types of, you know, mix and match colored, but large rabbits. And then some friends moved, and they couldn't take this pair of rabbits with them, and they gave them to me, and then those started reproducing uncontrollably. I didn't know anything about it, and so, yeah, I found out about purebred rabbits. I was selling all the babies off to the pet stores. And
okay, I'm going to ask like all the things you wanted to know that you'll probably groan and think, I can't believe she's asking me these dumb questions, but let's just go there. These are the very limited things I know about rabbits, even having had one. One is, well, they're cute.
yeah,
They're cute. They generally always seem to be soft. They sure do poop a lot.
yeah, because they eat a lot.
They tend to seem to be nervous creatures by demeanor or by nature. Is that true, or
They're
did I
prey animals,
Okay.
so they have to be alert.
They're prone. Okay, alert. I like that. I was going to say skittish. I think alert sounds a lot better. Aside from that, I don't really know a whole lot. So what would be the difference, other than the purpose-driven, between having a rabbit as a pet versus a rabbit that's going to be for the dinner table? Is there any difference between raising them, what they're fed, or how you take care of them?
Well, with any type of domestic animal that you raise, there are almost always breeds.
Right.
And the breeds are created by humans who agree that a certain type is going to look like this, it's going to weigh this much, it's going to be this size, it's going to have this colored eyes, this colored toenails, and this type of coat. And so you breed to promote those genetics.
Yeah.
And the ones that do not display those genetics, you have to do something with them. So the rejects, they can be conveniently eaten, because rabbit has the highest protein of all meats, the lowest
very
cholesterol.
lean.
Yep, and it's all white, and it's easily digested.
Is there a different name for rabbit meat, like venison? You know,
For deer?
Yeah. Do we call
No.
it something other than
No,
rabbit?
it's just rabbit.
Interesting.
Or if you want to use the French name, lapin.
Yeah.
Or
Alrighty.
conillo if you're in an Italian restaurant, or conejo if you're in a Spanish restaurant.
Who widely consumes the rabbit? I know the French do. Is it widely accepted, or do people just eat it when they have
It's
it, or is there
Widely
demand?
consumed over North Africa, the Mediterranean, most European countries. The farther north you get, it's not as popular like the Netherlands and Scandinavia. It's not.
Okay.
But the middle latitude European countries, you know, Greece, Spain, Italy, France, Belgium, Germany, all of those places, Morocco, Tunisia.
Do you think rabbits would be a better alternative than cattle
Yes,
for
definitely.
the earth and everything else?
Definitely, because They're the most efficient producers. You can produce more pounds of meat per acre with rabbits than you can with cattle, much more. Water,
You're not
feed,
doing the same kind of
yeah.
gases either.
No.
Things like that.
Water, grain, time, and area. Much more. It is hands down the most efficient. But the American Rabbit Breeders Association cite as the major obstacle
Is
to
that they're
why
cute.
this country, is not jumping on this bandwagon, is what they call the Easter Bunny syndrome, in a timely manner. We're talking about the Easter Bunny syndrome, that Americans tend not to eat animals that they would consider kept as pets, whereas like in this country, dogs are always pets, but then in other cultures, dog is food,
Right.
The ancient Hawaiians, many Asian cultures eat dog regularly as food.
I don't keep cockroaches as pets, and I have no interest in eating them. But
Yep.
hey, you know, these
There are
things
cultures
are,
that eat cockroaches.
Yeah, it's true. We've got some pictures. That was kind of a strange transition there, but I want people to see. So, lo and behold, we have a picture of you with a very large rabbit.
Yeah, that is a very young rabbit. He was born in October, and that show that he won second runner-up, he's got the award called Reserve, and that was March 2nd.
Oh,
It was at the
it's
Wahiawa
recent.
Botanical Garden, and that one with the lady judge was a year ago last June. And that very, very large rabbit is a Flemish giant, and she weighs about 16, 17 pounds.
Do they get? Okay, I'm gonna ask some funny questions here. Do they get to play with each other?
No.
No. Okay.
No, they're
You-
all completely housed separately. The only
Okay.
ones that can stay together are babies under 3 months.
Is this because they might have rabbit fun?
They will reproduce.
Okay.
They'll reproduce, and they're territorial, and they will set out their hierarchy.
Oh.
And that includes, that may involve fighting.
Oh, it did. Fighting rabbits.
Yeah,
Now
right.
there's a thought. I'm learning many things with you today.
They're very
Thank
territorial. They're not little toys.
you. Okay.
You know, we may think they're a little docile, but amongst themselves they'll say, "Oh no, he's the boss."
They're bringing out
Mm-hmm.
the little rabbit switchblades. I will cut you. Mi vida loca.
Yeah,
Little rabbit
my
tear
nails.
by the eye. Okay. We digress. I digress. Another photo of you with another four-legged friend.
That's Halle Berry, my
this-
5-year-old boxer.
Is this the one I saw in your car?
Yes.
She is a cutie.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
really is. Now tell us about what is this that is behind her that she's
That
pulling or
is the cart
trailing?
for the Tales of Aloha Animal Therapy group, to which we belong, and that's at the Kaimuki Business Parade that goes up all Wailea Avenue at the beginning of December every year.
the
So
one
that's-
that creates all the big traffic jams.
Yep, and it's a big parade.
It's a huge
really
parade.
good, because you figure all the businesses and schools and other things in Kaimuki.
It's
that
a
have-
huge to do.
They have a lot of marching bands.
I used to see it as a child, and I always wondered who came up with the great idea of having Santa Claus who would like throw hard candy at the audience. It's like, why would you do that?
People take their bags. It's just like Halloween.
Yeah,
They
you
show
get
up with all
pelted
their
in the eye
bags
by a
and-
piece of candy.
And the people in our unit, they pass out candy canes.
I like it. Passing it out is much nicer than getting it thrown at you. And I love candy. We have some old school pictures of you.
Yeah, that's
Look at
early 80s.
this. I love it.
That's a traditional Japanese sankyoku,
This is you on the far right?
far right, in the
Wow.
peach kimono, playing the 13-string Japanese zither called the koto, and that's a typical chamber trio called sankyoku. The lady in the middle is playing a shamisen, which is a 3-stringed. That's what she's playing. The genre is called jiuta, and because shamisen is used to play many different genres. I mean, it's as versatile in Japan as a guitar.
Yeah.
So, and there are different types of shamisen, and this is one particularly for that trio genre.
Very cool.
And the end-blown bamboo flute is the shakuhachi,
Shakuhachi.
and that's Jim Funasaki playing that. And so the sensei in the middle, she was very renowned for playing at the UH Kabuki productions. That's
Okay.
Yamada Chie, the late Yamada Chie, who was just a fabulous person. And I'm really lucky to have been able to play with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then look at this. It's the lady making the magic.
Okay, that's at Studio CR7 at Hawaii Public Radio. during one of the tapings for Brazilian Experience.
Now, radio is a whole other world unto itself.
Yes.
Do people ever hear your voice in person and then make the connection and say, hey, wait a minute, are you that lady on the radio? Do they do a double take?
Yeah, some people do that.
Or do they have, you had said during the pledge drive that people have an idea of what they think you look like, and then they're like, oh.
Yeah, they say, oh, yeah, I hear you on the radio, and yeah, I mean, you sound the same, but I didn't expect. I thought you were Brazilian, married to local Japanese or something. And I said, but you know, Brazilians have this kind of face too.
That's true. It's kind of like when my mom was at Kaiser and they said, Mrs. Chang.
Mrs. Chang.
And she came up and they're like, I'm sorry, we
She's
asked for
blonde,
Mrs. Chang.
right?
and she's like, I am Mrs. Chang. So even though we're the melting pot, we still open the mouth and serve food from time to time. We have another picture, which I'm glad they're able to switch it around. Tell us about this.
Okay, this was probably the most widely publicized court trial that I had ever worked on. I had worked on a lot of federal cases, being a simultaneous interpreter for drug cases where they involved Spanish-speaking defendants. But this one was the Waikiki Jack-in-the-Box double murder. The woman who's sitting there next to me on the witness stand is the mother of the defendant. And this is the second trial. The first one wound up in a hung jury. They couldn't come to a decision, and the defense was not necessarily insanity, but it was that the defendant was possessed by a demon named Romanov, who killed two brothers at the Waikiki Jack-in-the-Box in 1991.
Yeah, now this is a Good Neighbor Pharmacy. I don't even think it's a Jack-in-the-Box anymore.
Yeah, it's Good Neighbor
Wow. Wow, I remember that. Now, here we have the alma mater.
Hearts full of pride, dear alma mater. So that's Roosevelt High School with its newly renovated Carter Auditorium and the landmark tower. The school itself is done in a Southern California mission style.
Yeah,
and it was it was the English language, English standard.
Yeah.
English standard school.
And you had to test to get into the school.
You did. Yeah, my father went there.
Same, my daddy too. It's true.
Yeah, I think the last graduating class of English standard was I think in 1957.
Interesting.
So it always had this very, very high standard.
Yeah. Indeedles. And let us know what capacity you are in at the school.
Presently, for the last 2 years, and it's a position that I've returned to after being away for a while, but I have the community-based instruction class in the special ed department.
Okay.
And so I have the students who have the most severe disabilities and are medically fragile. So there are only 6, but we're getting about 3, maybe 4 more in, and each student has his or her own adult assistant with it. So we have twice the amount of bodies as students in the classroom.
Right, so everyone is really taken care of.
Yes, yes. And so we're there to maximize their abilities and to train them in, to be as independent and self-sufficient as possible.
Challenging and rewarding, I would guess.
And they stay at the school till they turn 22.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
I had no idea. So are they sequestered in their own program per se? Because I was thinking, and I'm unfamiliar with the program, but like if you're 15 and there's someone who's 22 in class, does that seem odd or?
We have 3 different levels of the CBI.
Okay.
And so of their abilities.
Yeah.
So the ones that can read and write but are still earning a certificate of completion because their reading and writing ability does not allow them to be in the regular ed classes with everyone else. So they work for a certificate of completion instead of a diploma that's based on grades.
Right.
So according to your physical and intellectual functioning, we have them divided up into 3 classes.
They're very lucky to have someone like you.
Oh,
I hope they realize that.
Oh yeah, we all have fun together.
Yeah.
We all appreciate each other.
Fun was had. You know what? Fun was had here. I would love to have you in again because you're such a font of inspiration and information, and there's a million things that
Always
we haven't.
stuff to talk about.
Just like the song Brazil, you know, a million things left to be said. So with that note, we'll have to bring you back I know that February is a busy month for all people affiliated with Brazilian things with Mardi Gras, but we'll have you back sometime, talk
Sure.
shop about music, or
Anytime.
or even get more in depth about rabbits and things like that.
Yeah,
There's
we'll
no
see.
shortage of
Wait
information.
for a school holiday or summertime.
Exactamundo. Thank you so much. Tell us again, your show is on Saturdays?
Saturdays, 4 to 6 p.m. It's HPR2 in Honolulu. It's KIPO, and it's also heard broadcast to all parts of Maui, now the east side and north side of Kauai.
Very
and
cool.
all of Maui County and all over the Big Island with the exception of Hilo, which they're moving into Hilo very soon.
Oh my goodness, we're taking over. And then if people are curious about rabbits, how would they get in touch with you
The
about that?
Hawaii All Breed Rabbit Club. Even if you just Google Rabbit Club Hawaii or Hawaii Rabbit Club, it'll take you right to our site, and then you can get a hold of me that way.
And any jazz coming up that we can come and,
No,
support?
we're working on that. I think that the event is sold out, but there was one of the premiums in the recent HPR membership drive was this Bossa Nova Sunset Soiree. It's up on Tantalus, and so I'll be there with my trio, and we'll be playing
Is that
Bossa
the
Nova
Lily
music.
Strand House?
Yes,
Oh
at the
my
Lily Strand
God.
House.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
I believe it's probably sold out,
Yeah.
but that's the next gig.
We'll keep you posted, I think in July, if Dylan-esque makes the rounds again.
Oh yeah,
Definitely want to see that. That was fun, fun, fun.
fun.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest today,
My
Sandy.
pleasure.
Have a wonderful holiday weekend. And to you watching the
Indeed.
show, stay tuned. We've got another show coming up. And be sure to check our show next week, where your questions will be answered right here on The Art of Life. Keeping it Pono. Aloha.